Traditional strategies, they don't work anymore.
AI is making decisions faster than we can understand them.
Everyone's selling answers. Nobody has the truth.
Disruption isn't coming. It's already here.
Who's willing to cut through the bullshit?
Outwired.
Still haven't done the black spot. I was playing the intro. Jessica was like, "Did you take out the black spot?" I'm like, "Fuck." I don't remember anything until the day of. So it's now on Jessica. It's her responsibility. I'm going to edit the video, but she's got to remind me next week when she gets here on Wednesdays. Tell me how to do it, or to tell me to do it, because I just forget. But in the meantime, it's like a stunner, right? You're like, I have this great music. I'm expecting the show to start. And then like you kind of maybe the people who aren't half paying attention jerk their heads around. They're like, what is this dead silence? Did it crash? Maybe it gets more attention that way. We should just leave it.
The transition.
Can we do a study on that, Scott? Can we poll people?
We can ask people about anything.
I would like to know the answer to that question.
And we typically do. So
all right, welcome to another episode of Outwired. Excited to be here with you guys. All kinds of crazy stuff is happening today. To me, like my studio crashed, and I barely made the MC Fireside Chats episode. And you know, people are ringing my doorbell 10 seconds before the show starts, and all kinds of stuff. But it's good. Like we have a. Are you staying to put together the garden? Yeah. Jessica's gonna. I've ordered this hydroponic garden downstairs. So have you ever seen these, Scott?
yes.
So I had one for years off and on, right? I had a company called, just we're practicing like, hey, you tuned in for an outdoor hospitality show. We're going to talk about gardening. Because, you know, that's the way we roll here. So there's a company called Garden, Gardyn, that exists in the United States. That's a really good hydroponic garden company. And I had them for a while in Cleveland when I lived down in the States. And you know, like it's, for those of you who aren't familiar with what we're talking about, like it's a, I don't know, like an indoor garden, right? Has a basin usually at the bottom full of water. And then the water kind of shoots up through a bunch of little pods. And the pods have like soil in them and hold a little bit of water. And it's all like kind of automated for the most part. But then you can grow like strawberries and kale and salad and basil and oregano and all kinds of stuff year round in your house. And you don't need to save a bunch of money at the grocery store. So I had that one. I had one of them down there. And then when I came up here, I ordered one from a company called Rise Gardens, which is still sitting in my garage. Like, I mean, it's like nice. I had it and it was working, but like it wasn't the same as the garden one because they had like trays underneath it and it calcified and like it just didn't operate as well. So this new one I got is a Canadian company out of Toronto. So I'm going to try to put that together and hopefully it's more like the garden than the other one was. Like from the fundamental structure standpoint of like it doesn't have trays on every row and stuff. So anyway, Jessica's going to put it together for me, and then she's going to be like, she's going to take a bunch of food home with her whenever she comes over, which I feel like is a pretty good deal, right? Like the way grocery prices are going.
No kidding.
So,
especially this time of year.
Yeah. And there's no pesticides in it either. Yeah, that's what Jessica just said. So, and I eat organic too. Anyway, what's on your mind, Scott?
Oh, right now it's the idea that we, you know, are pushing out this year's camping report results. We're not ready to give them publicly, but they're in
This is for
process.
KOA, right? The one that's coming in March. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, we're going to try to get it out a little bit earlier this year. I know we say that every year, but this year we're actually going to do it.
Like February instead of March, or March instead of April?
It's going to be March instead of April.
Okay. All right. I can't remember I don't remember what I had for lunch yesterday. So
But if people, remember too, it used to be it was well into May by the time we would get it out.
Was it really? I didn't know that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, we used to have quite a process. So no, which is nice because we're turning it around a lot quicker. We have some really, I think, some stuff in there that's pretty exciting that people can really sink their teeth into, both from a it's from the perspective that there's stuff that you're gonna have to chew on to use the food.
Okay. All right.
Theme of this episode, we might as well stick
What
with
kind of chewing? We have to, like, we're data guys here, so we got to analyze this correctly. Is it like, let's see, is it green bean type chewy? Is it like sticky taffy Tootsie Roll type chewing? Is it like really hard beet chewing?
This is more like a crisp salad chewing. You have to chew well, but the payoff is worth it.
But it doesn't taste good while you're chewing?
Well,
'Cause
it's
just
covered
like-
in ranch dressing, so there you have it.
Ah, okay. Gotcha. Okay. So you're saying the design is going to be nice.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be nice. It's going to be good. You're going to there's we're trying to do is include some thought-provoking stuff, and I think that's really important. And I feel like now people are more in line with being able to do that instead of having everything spoon-fed. See, we're going to stick with the food theme here.
Okay.
To them, that they're going to digest it themselves and figure out what to do with it. So that's really what we're I'm actually pretty excited about it, what the results are showing and what people are going to be able to do about it, because it feels to me that we've had a couple of years of things being less than ideal. Really, I think there's okay optimism out there overall. People know what's going on. So the industry has a lot of work to do, and I know we've mentioned that a bunch on this podcast, but the industry has work to do, and they actually are going to have to really work to bring in guests, to bring in people, to make the fundamental structural changes that the industry needs to move forward and to grow again, where manageable growth. Hopefully, we can keep it at that and make sure it is growth. And the biggest issue to me and on this topic, though, is the leaky bucket. That leaky bucket is way, way too leaky. We've always had one, of course. A lot of industries do. People come in, they try something, and they leave. It could be a product, it could be anything. In our industry, our leaky bucket has enlarged quite a bit over the last 3 or 4 years, and people didn't notice as much during COVID because there were so many new people coming in.
The bucket was still being filled up with like 4 hoses instead of 2.
Right. And now that we're seeing that leaky bucket, it's kind of like, yeah.
I think we should do a whole fucking show in metaphors. What do you think? See if anyone understands it.
Let's do it. So yeah, that's kind of where my head's at as of today. We've got some good stuff coming out online. We have some good stuff that we're working on with you with the hospitality highlights. That one came out today, and then we're going to keep pushing that forward on and explore some different themes that we can that we'd really like to dig into those topics too and explore them in more detail as we move along this year. So that's kind of where my head's at as of this moment.
Do you think that more people would pay attention to the data you put out if you knife fed it to them instead of spoon feeding?
Well, it depends on where that knife lands. It will make them stand up and pay attention. Yes. Maybe they might be a little too cautious, though. Maybe we have like a really big ladle. And
do you think there's a way to do a study on that without being arrested?
You just don't. Yeah, you just don't record it. That's all.
Okay, that's fair. That's a fair point. Yeah, it's interesting to me. Like I think Like I was talking to Sandy Ellingson was on the show on Fireside Chats earlier, and she was talking about she had a lot of optimism when she was attending the Tampa RV show, and I've heard mixed results, but I've like from what I saw attendance wise, like I think it was down 3,000 from last year is what the attendance said it was, 68,000. But I also read a lot of anecdotal reports on RV business. Mostly, I just was going and checking on the show every once in a while. That said, like, there's just a bunch of people looking, and everybody it seemed like they interviewed were like, we're just looking, we're not buying, we're looking. And obviously, they didn't interview 68,000 people. They interviewed like 10, right? But I don't know if that's indicative of. And again, how much does that roll over is the question. Just because you're not buying a new RV this year doesn't mean that you're not interested in camping this year, right?
Correct.
So I think it's two different. Like they're the same industry in that the people who purchase RVs are utilizing private or public campgrounds, but they're different industries in that yes, they correlate to each other, but not always directly, right?
And there's a matter of kind of capturing that interest and intent. And sometimes you have to nurture people along. The person who shows up in an RV show, they may not be serious yet about buying, but they're going to, as they say, kick the tires, and they're going to walk around, look inside. And it's not the situation where you're going to give them a hard sell. And I think in some cases, too many people fall into that trap where I'm going to give them the hard sell here. And it's like, you know what? This is a big purchase. It's a big decision. And in the research we've done with buyers of RVs, it shows that for some people that buying process can take a year or more.
Well, they're too slow. If you just locked them in the RV and did give them the hard sell, wouldn't you like to come out of this RV? You can into a beautiful private campground if only you bought it today, right now. I can hand you the contract through the window. Drop it down through the air vent. Something, right?
You can try that. You can try that. For some people, it may work, but then what you're going to have is them maybe in a couple of weeks bringing that RV back. So you have to bring them along.
That's fair. It counts as a sale for Tampa, and that means that we can report it as good news.
Well, there you go. But yeah, the RV shows, by the way, we've found that it are a way that people start the buying process.
Okay.
They will. It's that, as they say, the tip of the spear or knife, to use your previous analogy, that or metaphor, that some people will go to the show just to, again, walk inside. It's like at the glamping show when we walked around all those units. It's kind of like that. It's like, are we going to buy one of those places? Probably not, but it's kind of cool to look around. And if you ever got serious about it, maybe you'd rely on that experience a little bit. You'll definitely go with the what's memorable. So anyway, just to say that, if people are just wandering around and looking, that's not a bad thing.
No, it's the same thing that happens at our trade shows for our company, right?
Yep.
Like it's I consider trade shows more top of funnel. And that's great, except like I don't have time to go to 30. Like we were talking about all the different state association shows and everything else, right? I don't know if there's really 30, but there's a lot, right? I personally, I don't know. That would be really interesting to test in 5 years if I could hire robots to go to all the trade shows for me, because that would be right up my jam, right?
Absolutely.
Like, that would be right up the alley of what I'm trying to serve. But then I could spread out everywhere, but then still, like, it's really the networking and the conversations over the bar that get the real business done. But it is top of funnel. Like I have people who call me 3 years later. I just had a guy call me. He was like, that's 2 years ago, I think. But he called me. He's like, you remember we talked at Kansas City? I'm like, I do not remember that, sir. But I will trust your judgment that we did that at my trade show 2 years ago at Ojai. But yeah, it's top of funnel. So like, I don't think it's bad news. And we don't want to ever frame it that way, right? Which I think is why attendance helps with interest overall versus sales numbers from the shows. Yeah.
Yep. And it's good. It's one of those things where if people are showing interest, that then again, you're starting the process, and it could be slow. And I think you alluded to this early on, that you're probably not going to see results right away from this. It's like people didn't go to the Tampa show and they're like, woohoo, that's, sales in the Tampa area just, spiked 10%. It's like, no, that's not going to happen. But you want them to attend the shows. And the fact that it was down 3,000 doesn't really surprise me. I mean, it's a pretty high volume show, but by the same token, if I had to guess, if you asked the Florida Department of Tourism, that their early snowbird numbers are probably down. So,
Yeah.
and they get a lot of snowbirders there who probably aren't interested in an RV. So maybe, and this might come into play with some of the stuff, and I've been talking about this for a while now too, is the idea of who the industry has right now. This core group is pretty solid. It's not as big as it used to be, but it's a solid group of people who are into RVing or tenting or whatever it is they do. That a lot of them aren't really going to go away, and that those down numbers at that show may reflect more that we don't have the casual people showing up for that as much as the people who might be serious. And I'm just, I'm going off the reservation a little bit on that, but it is something that these shows may see numbers down, but maybe it's just a higher quality prospect that's showing up.
Well, I can go off the reservation with you too, or wherever you want to go. Like I think here's my thing. I think everybody who's listening to this show should be so in love with AI from our industry standpoint that it's the only thing you should think about every day. And here's why, Scott, and this is going to back me up for data. Okay. This has never come out of my mouth before. So you pay attention, right? I'm not going to say something you think I'm going to say. I think that if AI does not solve longevity to the point where we can live double our life expectancy in the next 10 years, maybe the camping industry is fucked. Because if it doubles the longevity of people in the next 10 years, like Elon thinks and a bunch of other people think, right? Maybe even a little sooner, like not immortality, but doubles the longevity. So I think it's 75 life expectancy now, 73, something like that. If it doubles that to 150 in the next 10 years, the industry's fine, because then the boomers will live 75 years longer and they'll keep coming to the resorts. But if it doesn't solve longevity in the next 10 to 20 years, then all the fucking Gen Zers who we haven't introduced properly to camping are going to live forever. The boomers will already be dead and we'll be fucked forever.
So I don't think we can count on that longevity projection. I think
we should be all in on AI just in case.
Well, you should. You can do that. You can go on two parallel paths.
All right.
Here. And that's what we're gonna do.
But if
some people can go all in.
Longevity doesn't happen, which I think it will, and so do a lot of really smart people, right? But if it doesn't happen, then what is, like, we're back to the same things we've talked about, right? We're back to generations after really the millennials are still kind of half in, half out, right? But then the generations that come underneath them, we really need a strategy as an industry to get these guys more involved and participating, right?
Yeah. I don't think longevity is going to be solved that quickly and that aggressively.
Well, it's not solved. It's you wait.
Well, not solved. I should say.
Let's put a bet on it right now.
It's okay. What do you want to bet?
Let's bet. What do you want to bet? Like a nice bottle of whiskey?
Yes.
Okay. Nice bottle of whiskey under $200.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Deal.
So yeah,
10 years we'll have a 150-year life expectancy of the average human.
I don't see that happening.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Continue, please.
No. What was I talking about?
Gen Z and getting them maybe involved. Gen X.
Gen Z. The perpetual Gen Z problem. Yeah. There's a lot we can do with that. I feel like, I've always felt strongly about this, that if you get people outside enough, have them have a good experience, that they'll get hooked on it.
We have that white paper, don't we, too? Jessica, remind me of that after the show. I'm putting this on you right now. We have a white paper we put together, right? And I gave that to you, and that was basically pretty much good to go, right? You had a couple changes on it.
Yep.
We need to release that for Insider Bricks. I got to go find that. I'll find it after the show. I'll send it to you, and you can tell me if there's anything wrong with it you think we should clean up.
Okay. But yeah, the idea is we've been measuring this in the KOA survey since we started. And what we saw, especially in the COVID years, was that the reason people started camping changed. And it changed pretty dramatically. Like when we asked people, like, why, what sparked your interest in camping the first time? And some first, a lot of people just go on a family vacation or whatever, and that's fairly common. But really and truly, what did that for a lot of people, especially the people who started camping as adults, is that a love of the outdoors, of wanting to be outdoors. But in COVID, that didn't happen. People came out for different reasons. They came out camping because it was the only way to travel, or they wanted to stay away from sick people, or just their friends were doing it. It wasn't because they wanted an outdoor experience. They wanted to do something else, or it was something else was prompting them. And those people were highly unlikely to stick around.
Which is so interesting, because you hear people who advocates in the industry who are like, everyone stayed, it was great. But that's not what happened, right?
No, not at all. And some of them did, but not. I mean, the attrition rate was huge.
Do you have any idea, like giving a percentage of like people you think generally stayed versus didn't?
I would say it was a net loss of people who started during COVID and are still around. I think we had a net loss of probably around, I'm going to say 15%.
So you think, let me just be clear. You think the number of people that came in that were camping at the beginning prior to COVID hitting, and the number of people who are camping today is 15% less? Or do you think of the people that came in during COVID, 15% of those didn't stick around?
Right. Actually, that percentage it should be the latter, but it's higher than that.
Okay.
It's higher than that. We probably lost, now that I would have to look up the exact number, but I'm going to say it's probably more along the lines of like 35%.
But so we have net new 65% of those people?
Yeah, but there's attrition for other reasons, other people. I'm just saying within that group itself.
Okay, gotcha.
We have a natural attrition rate of probably 10%, that just occurs naturally. People age out, people stop doing it for a number of reasons. So basically what you had is that if a person said that they started camping for a reason other than a love of the outdoors, they're much more likely to not continue. And that's something that's been occurring with that younger generation throughout time. And it's what we need to build in them is a reason to like the outdoors. We need to, the other issue there is that their first experience was much more likely to be at either a glamping park or in a cabin at a campground, some sort of accommodation. Whereas prior, the first camping experience was much more likely to be in a tent. So what you have again is this changeover of people who haven't had a more immersive outdoor experience. There's a desire there to have it. So those are some of the factors that we need to address with this group. We need to get them really into the outdoors, show them how to do it, really get them immersed in it. I think once you do, it will take care of itself, but it's going to take us a while to.
Well, yeah, and the longer it goes, the harder it gets, right?
Yep.
And eventually it will revert back to easy. But that'll take like hundreds of years, right? So I was watching a show. I don't know if you've ever seen this. I watched it years ago, but I was asking AI, like, what are some shows that I can watch if I like this, and whatever. It picked out a sci-fi show called The 100 that I'd seen before. I don't know if you've ever seen this.
Yep.
So that's what I was thinking about when you were talking about it. I'm like, well, we could just like lock them all up on a space station for 100 years, and then they'd be super excited when they came out to see the outdoors. They'd be like, yeah, we're all into this, right? We just watched episode 1 and they like ran out of the spaceship. They're like, I've never seen a tree before. So I feel like there's easier ways to do it before we get to that point.
I agree. Yes, there are. And there's some ways, and we're going to work on some of those this year too, on some different things that can be done. It's going to be, I think it's going to be interesting to see how this works out. I think the people who are committed to getting on board for some initiatives will see the benefit. I think they'll see it very quickly too.
Good. I'm glad. Yeah, but we got to put out that white paper because I think that's really helpful. There's so
Yep.
much stuff I think that I ask AI, and then we put together, and not you and me necessarily, though some of it, but and then it just disappears in my conversation thread, and I forget it. So, what else is new? What else is coming across your desk?
Oh, but it's coming across my desk. I've been so in the weeds the last few weeks that it's nice to just kind of be able to look up and kind of look ahead at the year overall.
Now, I'm sorry, are you in the weeds because you were chasing your dog or for another reason?
Both.
Okay,
Both.
right.
Yeah, our dog ended. I don't know if he ended up finding someone and was just hanging out with him.
Yeah, you told me that.
Some guy out chopping wood.
That's nice though. The guy's probably happy. Like he was probably like, man, I really could use a friend or a companion. Your dog probably brings joy to.
Oh, he loved it. He loved them. Everybody says that. They say the same thing. He goes and finds new homes, and you'd think he's like abused and tortured here, but he's not. But yeah, the looking up at this year, I'm kind of looking at what events I'm going to attend and what things are happening and how we can present information a little bit differently. Maybe I'm really kind of looking forward to some of that stuff. That's kind of where my head's been at the last few days. The only conference right now, there's a couple I'm locked into. One is the Florida Alabama conference.
Yeah, I'll be there. I think they're going to have me speak on AI.
You're going to do a Cracker Barrel session too, I saw. So
when did he schedule it for? I didn't even look.
I don't remember what day it was, but yeah, you're on board for that. I'm going to come in there just to heckle you, I think. So, but yeah, that one I'm going to go to the Overland Expo this year in Flagstaff, and I'm also going to present in the top with Tara McKee from the Utah Department of Outdoor Rec on how to engage the younger set of campers or outdoor enthusiasts or potential outdoor enthusiasts, I guess I should call it. That's gonna be the topic of our presentation, and that's in Duluth in May as well. So those are the three that I have lined up right now. Very different. That's at the Outdoor Recreation Professionals conference, which is really interesting group, by the way. If anyone ever wants to look them up, it's a mix of public and private lands people. There's a lot of public lands people in there, people from national park, BLM, state parks, municipalities. It's a really, really interesting group. I've presented at and been a part of the organization for a while. So anyone interested in that, there's some great people to talk to. A lot of people from universities doing some really good research as well. So anyway, just as a resource, just kind of throwing it out there. It's a really interesting group.
That's Duluth, Minnesota.
Yep.
So are you what's the plan if Minnesota secedes from the union before then?
My passport's updated, so
okay, that's fair. But they gotta have the infrastructure in place to process passports. It might be like Brexit. Could be confusing.
We'll storm the beach at Grand Marais, which on Lake Superior, we can connect up there. So we'll meet at Sven and Oli's in Grand Marais.
Yeah, I think I'm going to the Wisconsin show this year. I was going to give away a little secret, but I'm not going to give it away. We're going to go to the Wisconsin show. It's going to be fun.
When is that?
March.
Oh, okay. That's coming up pretty quick, actually.
Yeah. So I'll be at that one, and then I'm going to be at the Florida show, and then I think that's it for me to glamping and KOA and Ojai again. I don't know if I'll go to COE. Yeah, it's a lot of travel. And then I don't know if I'm going to go anywhere overseas. Like I had talked about going to the Australia conference. I just don't think, like there's so much happening. And I've talked to you about this, Scott, in January. And I think the year is going to be so crazy busy with just AI and innovations. And like, I mean, the amount of things that me and my team at Insider Perks are working on that I've deployed that are in progress in the first 2 weeks, and I know it's 3 weeks in, but the first 2 weeks, they've only been back from holiday since January 6th, is insane. It's more than I've ever had people working on, so like at any point in time. So I feel like I want to expand to Australia, but I don't know that now is the right time to split my attention from all the growth that we're having in the United States and Canada. But I did join the Glamping Industry Trade Association in the UK, and so I might end up going over there for the glamping show in September. So we'll see. That feels like an easy, like nonstop flight from Calgary to London and driving. So we'll see if that works.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Maybe I'll try to attend an international show this year.
You should.
I should.
You can come to the glamping show in September, right before the other glamping show.
It would be fun to do something like that, and then because you'd have the freshness of the one, and then attend the other one.
Yeah,
kind of for comparative purposes.
And you get to see Sarah Riley both places.
I was going to say, Sarah Riley, I think, is involved in both, isn't she?
Yeah. What else we got? I got a lot of AI news and stuff we can talk about, but you had a couple data points you wanted to talk about, right?
Yeah. What we were talking about earlier, the whole idea of what people prefer to, when they're asked what they would like to purchase or to stay in or whatever, and the whole idea there was that why is it that about half, on average, half of the people, when asked what kind of glamping accommodation they would prefer, they pick a cabin. And we've tested this
versus what are the other choices?
Versus all the other, think of all the other ones.
Okay, but we're not including RVs and glamping there, right?
No, we didn't include RVs, but no. What we included was pretty much all the other glamping types of structures. A dome, safari tent, treehouse, tiny home.
That's interesting to me because we've talked about the pricing stuff that we're going to release soon. It's interesting to me that tree houses and some of those unique accommodations are still priced so much higher than everything else versus the cabins. So maybe that's just the uniqueness. There's not enough inventory. There's not enough people but it still sells out because there's so few of them.
Yeah, and one of the reasons I think this is interesting too is what you just mentioned, the uniqueness factor, is that when, and this is aside from price, by the way, this is totally independent of the cost of a stay, that they prefer cabins over all these other ones. And it is the most well-known type of accommodation. Yeah. So the uniqueness of them is not what's attracting people to.
But here's an interesting question. When you picture a cabin in your mind, right? Like, what? Okay, let me talk to you about me first. When I picture a cabin in my mind, I'm thinking of a rustic cabin isolated in the middle of the woods by water. That's like I'm not saying that's what I'm expecting to get when I'm going camping. That's just what I picture in my head, right? There must be a subset of people who picture cabin as like what you get in Gatlinburg or Pigeon Forge, which is like a 12, 13 bedroom cabin with hot tubs and on the deck and overlooking the mountains and whatever, right? The cabin resorts. And then there's certainly a subset of people who, think cabin at a campground. But it'd be really interesting to study that and see how that answer is impacted by like, what is your definition of a cabin? And what would you want to stay at? Like, I want to stay at a cabin is not necessarily I want to stay at a cabin at a campground, right?
Well, it's always presented in the context of a glamping experience. Like,
okay,
if given a glamping experience,
but that's still like nobody can define glamping, right? And I think it's even more. That even more lends weight to I think my argument, because a lot of glamping is just glamping. Is 8 tents is disconnected from campgrounds in the United States.
But in my mind, when people think of glamping, one of the things they always think of is the safari tent. It's almost like the icon for glamping because they were some of the first ones.
Bell tent, or yeah.
And so when the first time we ever asked the question, I thought that people would pick that tent, the safari tent. and they don't. I do think that what you're talking about, the imagery and the feel of it, is what drives that. It's that the idea of a cabin is very comforting.
Yeah.
People have warm associations. It's like, oh, I'm going to either sit on the porch, like you said, at the lake, or I'm going to sit inside in front of the fire, and it's going to be very comforting, the whole environment, the wood, the textures, everything. And they can visualize that. And that's one of those challenges that, anyway, this is part of the conversation I think that's important that we have, is that these are the things that impact, one, how people answer questions in surveys, but two, how they make decisions, in real life, that how you present that and what does that person associate with it.
And is that then appealing, or is it disappointing based on the image in their head?
And that's one of the things that you have to determine, is like, what do people picture? What are those images? I think for things, I would be willing to bet
that, and I'm just going to make up a statistical fucking number here. I would be willing to bet 90% of them are not picturing mass manufactured cabin in their head. I was about to name a brand, but I didn't. But mass manufactured, like I bet you 90% of them are not picturing roll off the assembly line, no firewood place, tiny whatever cabins. Are they?
Probably not necessarily.
I don't enjoy that. I'm not saying they wouldn't enjoy it. I'm just saying they're not picturing it.
Correct. I think their visual of a cabin, though, may be somewhat like that. They're thinking of a log cabin that's very rustic.
Yeah.
Has a wooden, it's made of wood. It has the post and a porch. Those kinds of things. I think that is the imagery that most people have when you ask them, like,
yes,
you want to stay in the cabin. The other part of that is how there's two levels of comfort. It is the comfort of being in the cabin itself, that it is comforting to them to be in that kind of environment. The other is they feel safer in these types of structures, that they can lock the doors and windows, and that it also has privacy and a barrier to the outside world, which for a lot of people is comforting.
What did KOA used to call their cabins before they called them cabins? It wasn't lodging. What was it? Do you remember the word they used to use? It was such a weird word the first time I heard it.
A long time ago, they had something called cottages.
No, it was something else. It started with an L, I swear. But maybe it was lodging. It was something. I remember coming into the industry in like 2011, 12, thinking like, why are you calling your cabins this? Because nobody searches for this online. And I don't remember what it was called. But like, maybe, I don't think it was lodging. It was some, fuck, I'm going to have to, I wonder if AI knows. Do you think AI knows? I'm going to put it like,
it might be able to find it.
Like 15 years ago, there was a word that KOA used to describe their cabin rentals before cabin rentals. Can you go figure out what it was? It said Catherine Rentals, because thanks Google Gemini Translate. Oh, I got it anyway. Okay. Anyway, we'll see if that works. But I wonder, as you're talking here, like, I wonder if there's almost a disservice being done. There's a disservice being done to guests or to the campground when you call something a cabin rental that isn't as close to the log cabin experience. Like, I'm not saying, again, people enjoy it, but is there a path toward people enjoying something more if it was called something different and the expectation wasn't set for the picture in their head? Does that make sense?
Yep.
So that's what made me think of that thing. What is it said? Camping cabins and camping cottages with a K. With a K. That was why. Maybe that was it.
They did have what they called lodges.
Yeah, I think they were called lodges.
I just confirmed that. I looked at a study from 2011.
Yeah.
And
so I think that was interesting though. Now lodges to me is even more like, a lodge is like a huge thing in my mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lodging is not, but that's an interesting. I would make an interesting study sometime too, to see because expectations are everything, right? Like we've talked about, like 80% of negative reviews come from expectations not matching the reality on the ground, right?
Right.
So, like, I wonder if by everybody calling everything a cabin rental, that we've kind of diluted what people expect from a cabin rental, at least in our industry.
Yeah, and I think it's an important consideration. It's one of the reasons I wanted to kind of bring it up today, is to have this conversation, because it is, if you are an operator and you are offering accommodations, it is really important to make sure that you're managing those expectations, as you alluded to earlier, because if you just say we have cabins, you better make sure that that person knows exactly what you're referring to.
Yeah.
Because again, you don't want them to show up and say, this isn't what I was thinking. That's the last thing.
Does it have a kitchen? Does it have a bathroom? Does it have a fireplace? Does it have a porch? Is it made of wood, or is it made of plastic, veneer, vinyl, whatever the fuck, right?
Right.
Is it on wheels? Is it not on wheels? Is it 2 feet away from the neighbor? Is it 15 feet away from the neighbor? Right?
Yep.
Like all
absolutely.
those things are, and people don't do a good job, as we all know, of marketing this stuff, not because they're incapable, because they don't have time. Well, technologically wise, they might be incapable, right? But they're very creative still.
Yeah. So it's, again, it's the idea of cabin is, if we really want to know what people want, we need to be a little bit more granular in how we're referring to some of these accommodations. I feel like, because the number is always really high, and I think it's like to now refer to the other number, which is in RVing. When you ask people what kind of RV are they intending to purchase, or do they want to purchase, you have about close to a third of people who say a Class A motorhome. The
Mhm.
Class A motorhomes are less than 9% of the total RV ownership in the country. So what you have is this idea, and
Do they know what Class A is in their head?
it to me, it feels like it's a lot of the same issue, that they don't really know what a Class A motorhome is.
Yeah, I don't fucking know what a Class A motorhome is, and I'm in the industry, man. Like, it's the big one, right?
Yeah, it's the biggest one.
It's the big one.
And so you had this. It's not just aspirational. I feel like there's a lot of misconceptions that people have about what they are, what it means to have one of these things. They see. I would guess that for most people, if they saw a Class C motorhome on the road, they would think that's it. It's probably this. They probably think it's the same thing. So again, you have people's minds this idea that, well, this is what I want. This is what I want to have, and how this plays into that whole idea of people's perceptions of the iconic images that are out there is excuse me.
Are you gonna live? Good.
I think so. Much better. Okay.
That was weirder listening to you silent cough than it would have been if you just left it unmuted.
What can I help you with?
Wow.
What was that?
That was Alexa.
Interesting.
Where did that come from? Ghost in the Machine right there.
Yeah.
Is talking to people in, and I won't give anyone away here, in an adjacent industry.
Okay.
An adjacent part of outdoor hospitality. How's that? And in having a conversation with some of these folks about RVs and RVing, they were basically telling me that in their part of the industry here, it's hard for me to dance around this a little bit, but that RVs weren't a part of it. And I was like, RVs are a core part of it. And, I was a little shocked to hear that, because after we got into it a little bit, we found out that they thought all RVs were like Class A motorhomes, that was an RV.
I mean, it's pretty fucking confusing. Let's be honest. Like Class A, B, and
No.
C is pretty easy to understand, but like, there's a lot of shit to know about the like.
And
There's
so,
a lot of different models.
right. And so in my mind, it's like, it's not, I'm not saying that it's like, geez, you guys are idiots for believing this. It was more along the lines of the, I just saw we have a message. Morning from down under. Here's someone from Australia right here.
Yeah, we put that on. It's Duncan from Doomsday. I was talking to him the other day. We had a good conversation.
Oh, okay. But yeah, so what you have is a big section of the population for each of these two that I mentioned that are unaware of what it is we are providing, and that is really on us as an industry to make sure that we are really clear. Like, we're so immersed in some of this stuff, we don't think about it. It just pops up, and we have this a much more specific idea of what's going on. But for many people, they don't. It was like the first time we ever released the camping report. We had a media event, and the moderator of the group, I remember just saying to Jim Rogers from KOA that KOA is not camping. And he was, by the way, he was European. Because to him, the only camping in his mind was staying in the tent out in the woods somewhere. That was it. And he was serious. He was like, this is camping. He's like, well, this isn't camping here. And so that's why we had to define it for people, and using our own definition, because in people's minds, again, at that time, if you ask people, what do you visualize when you think of camping? And the image was always a tent in the woods.
Yeah.
Always.
Which maybe was better.
Yeah.
Not that we don't want the people in the industry, right, to be clear, but maybe camping should have stayed nostalgic that way, and we should have come up with a new word. I don't know.
And in RVing, we heard from a lot of RVers who told us, it's like, well, we don't consider this camping. We consider it RVing. And so that's, again, why we had to frame it differently when we asked people about it, because we want to capture those people. And, again, for anyone out there dealing with the public, and when you think of new acquisitions, and that can be bringing new people in the industry or buying an RV or whatever, that some of these images are what they have in their brains right now, or lack of imagery, lack of accurate imagery. So we have to create that. We have to make sure when we're going out there to seek that new person, and if they are interested in a glamping experience, to make sure they know what's involved, what it is you as a provider are providing. Same thing in the RV industry, to make sure that they know. It's like, you don't have to buy a Class A here. Let's maybe think of a little towable for you. It might be more appropriate, kind of thing. So again, these are some of the challenges that we have as an industry. And when people basically in our industry don't really know the answers to some of these questions or have different perceptions of them, it indicates that we need to address it.
Here's something interesting to me as you're talking about all these definitions and words, and as we're going back and talking about how KOA had lodges and cabins with a K. I remember that, right? I wonder almost like if there might be. We talk a lot about normalizing, right? I wonder if there's a different. I mean, there obviously is a different world. Like, let's say we pretend we believe in parallel universes for a second, right? There's probably, which is probably scientifically accurate. We'll see how many people think I'm crazy for that, but. So let's say there's a parallel universe where KOA continued to name all their cabins with a K, right?
Mm-hmm.
The reason that and I'm not, like, obviously I was not in the room nor privy to the discussion when all this was happening, when it was being renamed, when they chose to go with regular C for cabin rentals, all that stuff, right? But I remember talking to like KOA clients about it, like, it's not good for search, right? Because people are like searching cabin rentals with a C, because that's how it's spelled in English, right? And I remember saying that. And so I have to believe that at some point that factored into, if it was not completely, it had to at least factor in to the decision for KOA to revert from the K to a C. But now, if you're in a world where you're in AI search, and not even talking about the personalization and all that stuff, which we'll briefly get to in a second, but if you're in a world of AI search, would it then have been better for KOA to continue down a path? And I don't think so, because you would have lost a bunch of business from search for cabin rentals, right? In the time. But would it have been better long-term for them to stick with K and brand that as an exclusive KOA type cabin experience that then AI would have surfaced as like, this is clearly only a KOA thing. And it would have stood out and been different in the mind of consumers, because AI can surface things without those keywords now, right? Like it can say like, hey, I'm interested in staying at a cabin and at a campground. What do you guys have to recommend for me? Well, there's a bunch of different types of cabins. There's glamping and there's that space. There's cabin rentals, and then there's cabins with a K that are only at KOA property. Oh, what's that, right? It's just an interesting thing to think about. That's all. But I think as we move forward too, I think there's just a lot of that stuff that AI is going to help surface. The difference between Class A, Class B, Class C isn't going to matter as much in the mind of the consumer when AI knows everything about them, knows what their budget is, knows how many people are in their family, knows if they need to have a toy hauler, knows if, right, and knows all the things. And I think is just going to go out and find the perfect whatever for them. RV.
And just to throw in a pocket of chaos, the idea that a Class B motorhome is smaller than a Class C.
Is it? I don't know.
Yeah. Like Class B is like a camping van and the Sprinter van, stuff like that.
So a Class A is the largest and a Class C is the mid-size?
Yep.
And a Class B is, yeah, okay. Who the fuck was in charge of that?
Yeah, good question.
Okay. Oh, we need to move off that subject. I'm gonna
anyway, but again, if a person walks on a lot, just to kind of emphasize that point again, and this is, and you and say the salesperson says to them, yeah, you're looking for an A, B, or a C, and it's like, well, I want the one in the middle, so a B, and it's like, well, no, it's not really in the middle. It's
they must have invented Class A's and then Class B's, and then they were like, fuck, we need something in the middle, but then there's like no like A and a half. So they had to just name it Class C. That's the only thing I can think of.
That's the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah.
Maybe someone will tell us. Maybe someone will correct us and say we're full of it. But I think if you just look at pictures of them, you can see that the Class C is bigger than the Class B. So
why do we even I understand why we call them that from a dealer standpoint. Why do we actually market them that way? Why not just market them as like camping vans or caravans or I don't know, motorhomes?
Yeah.
Whatever. Why don't we? That doesn't make sense to me. Like the internal definition does, but am I wrong, or there's probably a reason for that too, right? I don't know.
No, I think that it's again, this is one of those issues that we deal with all the time when we talk about the words people use, the terminology, and what people associate with that terminology. And that is, just it's that word of caution that anyone out there communicating with the public at any level, that to know that Brian knows all this stuff. So, but yeah, no, it's
doesn't
true.
know the stuff when it comes to the RVs.
But when you're talking to people, to understand that they may not have some of that that background information, and they may have images that don't align with yours.
Maybe it'll all be solved, and Elon will come out with like flying RVs that are called Class X's.
There you have it.
And then he'll just solve everything, and everybody will just want the flying RV, because why would you want one that doesn't fly? It doesn't even make any sense.
I mean, if you can get a flying RV, I mean, why?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't try to ask questions about flying campsites. Don't do it. Talk about something, Scott, so we don't have to listen to Jessica talk about flying campsites.
Flying campsites. Wow.
It would be interesting one day, but we've talked about that.
Yep.
Do we want to get on to AI news? Or
Sure, might as well.
all right, we got a couple things here that have been unveiled in the last few weeks that I didn't have my full AI thing go out and research. I should say last couple weeks. It's supposedly since January 15th, since we were last together. But I feel like some of this might be a little bit older. We'll see. Depends on how much I do it. So Meta Compute is unveiled. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg announced Meta Compute, a major initiative to scale AI infrastructure plans. He plans to build tens of gigawatts of power this decade and hundreds of gigawatts more over time. You can, oh no, never mind. The link is broken again for Reuters. I wonder if it's going to hallucinate the links again. We'll find out. Anthropic Claude for healthcare. Anthropic launched Claude for healthcare, connecting to verified U.S. healthcare infrastructure. Automates prior authorization requests built on Claude Opus 4.5. We'll see if that Forbes article is made up too. Oh no, that one's right. So you can share my screen over here. So we have, and I can't, by the way, I can't wait till the future happens and agents browse websites instead of humans. So like we can actually get rid of all these pop-ups and ads and surveys and fly-ins and all the things that you're trying to like steal my attention for, that if you just browsed your own damn website, Campground, Forbes, ESPN, whoever you are, you'd be like, what the fuck am I doing spending half my time dismissing and clicking X's and pop-ups for? Why are you putting this on your website, people? Okay, rant over. Sorry. Do you agree, Scott?
Yeah.
I feel like I spend half my time closing pop-ups and slide-ins. So Anthropic launches AI healthcare tools as competition with OpenAI heats up. What if AI could speak the language of medical billing? Is the healthcare industry ready for AI assistants that can understand the Byzantine world of medical coding, insurance approvals, and patient records? Anthropic's vote is yes. I feel like that's supposed to be this week. This week, the San Francisco-based company announced Claude for Healthcare, a suite of AI tools for doctors, insurers, and patients navigating the maze of America's notoriously complex medical system. Rolled out just a week after, I think we talked about this last week, OpenAI introduced its own healthcare product. And some of these are like healthcare services for doctors. Some of them are healthcare services for inside ChatGPT and Claude themselves, which allow you to, like, my Whoop band is on here on my wrist. Connect your Garmin devices to ChatGPT, and then it will actually offer you better, more personalized health advice. And this is another thing you guys got to be careful about too. Like, these companies want all your data. And if you don't think they do, well, I've got some waterfront property on the moon to sell you. This is so interesting to me when you hear people say, when they announce these new things like these healthcare initiatives, and then you hear we promise not to train any of our models with this data. And everybody's like, oh, that's great. They're not going to train any of their models. They didn't say they wouldn't fucking look at it and store it and use it for advertising. They didn't say that. They just said they weren't going to use it to train their models. Like, so I think there's this huge thing in the industry right now where everybody thinks just because they're not using it to train their models, that means it's safe. But just like, I'm going to connect it all. Like, I want the convenience. Most people will want the convenience. I think we talked about this. Didn't we talk about this months ago on this show where like the AI doctor stuff?
Yeah.
Like that, right? We're like you don't want it, but then like if you can't be monitored 24/7, like if you could have a chip in your body, I don't remember exactly what we're talking about, but you've got a chip in your body, right? And if you don't have the chip in your body that lets the government or the doctors monitor you 24/7, then you could have a heart attack and die. But if you have the chip, then it can predict like 20 minutes in advance if you're having a heart attack and you won't die of a heart attack. Every motherfucker is going to have that chip. Every one of you will get that chip. You will. You might not get it when you're 20, but you'll get it, right? So it's the same thing here. Like we're all going to hook up this data and stuff. And the problem is not necessarily with the companies. It's we need to have regulation around this stuff, which the United States famously does not have any regulation around privacy almost at all.
Right. Right.
And it's going to be a Wild West, and it's going to be an interesting world. So generic AI, and then there's a bunch of companies coming out with software for medicine too. And all this is really interesting to me because I think it takes away the monotony of a doctor's job. Like a doctor went to school to be a doctor to save lives, to help diagnose, to talk to patients, to do all those things, right? They didn't go to medical school. I feel like most of them didn't. There might be one or two outliers. Most of them did not go to school to sit in their office behind a desk and edit patient records all day, right?
Right.
Otherwise, they would have gone to school for data entry. So the more that we have some of these tools taking away that busy work, especially in healthcare, I think there's a huge upside there to benefit human society with all that stuff, right? There are other things that will take jobs for sure, but there are lots of good things I think that will, especially with doctors, that will help that stuff. YouTube overtakes the BBC. YouTube reached 1.9 million UK viewers versus 1.9 what? Oh, 51.9. Sorry, I'm just blind. 51.9 UK viewers versus the BBC's 50.9 million. The first time YouTube has been the most watched media service in the United Kingdom. Interesting.
That's very interesting.
Ofcom investigation into X-Grok. Another UK regulator, Ofcom, launched investigation into X-AI tools Grok under the Online Safety Act. For this is interesting. For generating sexualized images, probably a dangerous topic to talk about. Potential fine of 10% worldwide revenue. We'll see how this goes. If you guys weren't aware, Grok for a period of time was just generating child pornography is what it was doing, right? I was thinking about to sugarcoat it, but it was.
No need to sugarcoat it. That's what it was.
And obviously that's fucked up. I'm going to say, but also though, which I really shouldn't say in any context around the world's child pornography, but also, you really can't control that to the granular level you think you can control this on AI models. Like it's not like Elon was programming Grok with all his engineers and they're like, oh, we'll just leave that restriction off. That's not what happened, right? So I think it's important to clarify that, especially in the context of, and I think we brought up the stat last week too, or maybe I was talking to clients about it, but 50% of people who use ChatGPT still think the answers come from a database somewhere.
Yeah. I remember you
so
talking
in the
about
context of that, like if that's how you believe AI works because you have no frame of reference, of course you're going to be pissed at Elon and Grok, which is a lot of the people in government who are right. And of course there needs to be, I don't even know that there needs to be a penalty for this on Grok. I think the problem is that we don't have any regulation of AI. And if we had regulation of AI from the beginning, or if we're implementing it now, then there are standards and rules that all these companies know they need to follow from the get-go instead of finding problems afterwards. I think that's the real solution. Because I don't necessarily think Grok did anything. Well, Grok did something. I don't think Elon and his company did anything malicious here. Right? I don't know that, but that's my intuition. So, and
it's a byproduct of
the user too, right? The user is a good point too. Like the user is the one, like these fuckers are prompting it. Like obviously it should refuse that. Like I'm going to get myself into deep shit here, Scott.
Well, here I'll take it from a slightly different perspective for a moment, and maybe that will help.
Well, help. What? Let me finish my thought real quick. It helps.
Okay, do it.
Because I think that this goes back to and I want to be very careful here when I say this, but it goes back to the whole free speech argument, right? Free speech means free speech. It doesn't mean free speech only when it agrees with your perspective. And I think there's a lot of people on both sides of the political aisle in the United States and all sides of the political aisle. There's multiple other political parties around the world, right? I think, but especially in the US, I think there's been a tendency over the last 10, 15 years to say free speech is important, but only if, right? And usually those only ifs are very well intentioned, right? Hate speech, child pornography, whatever else. We don't want that. No one wants that. But also, free speech is either free or it's restricted. Now, I'm not advocating for one or the other here, right? I'm just saying that's literally what it is. It's either free speech and you have it for everybody, unless it goes against the law, which obviously child pornography does, or you don't have it. Do you disagree with that?
Well, I think that because I don't think speech is absolute. free speech is absolute. I
Well,
personally
no,
don't think
and the United States is one of the very few countries who actually has it. In the UK, they throw people in jail for speaking out on social media against the government sometimes. This has been all over the news recently in the last few years, right? And obviously now we're on a free speech show. I don't want to go down this rabbit hole or whatever else. But point being is that the more that you say that something should be restricted, the more it has to be restricted. And the more the people who are doing the restricting from a company or personal standpoint have control over what is being seen by the larger population, especially in large social media systems or large AI systems. And then it doesn't always, but it can become a problem down the road.
right. As you mentioned, it has to be engineered up front in whatever you do. It's kind of like when you build something, you engineer that for whatever scenario you try to anticipate, happening. If you build a bridge in Canada where you live, you have to anticipate that your winter is going to be pretty severe.
Sure.
So that needs to be taken into account. And I think in some instances, it's going to be difficult for them because the issues to me are you have process, which is how this stuff is created, and then the output, which in this case becomes media. And we do have regulations on media. So I feel like someone's going to step in on this pretty quickly. I don't know how they're going to implement it.
We have regulations on media for a different reason, though. We have regulations on media because it's the Federal Communications Commission, and we only really have regulations on over-the-air broadcast media, not cable media. Right? So that's a whole nother convoluted mess of stuff. But either way, like I don't know. For sure, the ability to generate child pornography should not be able to be done. Clearly and obviously, right? No one's even coming close to saying that should be able to happen or anything close to it. But I don't know how you pick and choose in a world where everybody says they don't want censorship. How do you begin to pick and choose things? You should, but I don't know where you start and where you end is what I'm saying.
And it's been part of our dialogue for a long time. It's like the I don't know if it was the guy in Congress or a judge or someone said it was one of the court cases over the original pornography back in the day, and it was like I don't know how to define it, but I know it when I see it. And that's how the decisions were made, essentially at the time. So, I mean, that's kind of what we're dealing with right now. Though I feel like this topic, it's a little bit more cut and dried, but
yeah, there's just there's very little way to prevent this stuff because it's like this. And I know a lot of people on this show don't understand really how AI works. And I only have, let's call it a 50% understanding of what an AI scientist would have when it works. And we've talked about this before with the neural brains and how it mimics the human, and they don't really know what the fuck it does or how it works or whatever else, right? The problem with this, let's say we just, and then we'll get off this topic, right? Let's say we have determined that it should not produce child pornography, which obviously we should, right? It's similar to telling a human being you may no longer think of child pornography. You can't actually stop the human being from thinking about it, right?
Right.
Like you can't force them to stop. Now, most human beings who are good people and part of society, which is 99.8% probably, or 9% of the world, is never going to think of child pornography. Just like most AI agents will never do that unless prompted by a user. But if somebody comes up to you in the street and says, hey, did you see the child pornography that Grok whatever did? What are you going to think of instantly? You're going to think of child pornography, even though you don't want to, right?
Right.
And it's the same thing the AI is going to do when it's prompted. So it's just, my only point is it's not as cut and dry. It's not as easy to just go in and check a box and say no child pornography, right?
Right. You have to give the parameters somehow.
Yeah, but it's really hard to govern that because then you get a whole laundry list. It's like rules at your campground. right? You get a whole laundry list of, well, Sam did this one time at my campground in 1986 and I put a rule, and then somebody did something else in 87 and that rule's there. And then I got 20 pages of rules, right? But then those rules have cascading consequences for other things. Not child pornography. That's easy to solve, right? But other things, right? That you would put in there. And then whoever controls the company gets to put in the rules. Like, and do we have any laws that disclose what these rules are? Like, does it say that, liberal articles are more heavily weighted than conservative, or conservative are more heavily weighted than liberal? There's a lot of interesting topics here that are dangerous to society as a whole if we don't regulate this from a governmental level, and we're not talking about it. That's all my point is. We should probably move on, but
yeah.
Anyway, okay. What else do we have? OpenAI, Cerebras has a $10 billion deal. So this is interesting. OpenAI signed a multi-year agreement with Cerebras Systems to purchase up to 750 megawatts of computing power over 3 years, valued at $10 billion. For those of you who are not in the AI space, which I'm assuming is almost everybody watching this show, a couple weeks ago, and I think maybe we talked about this last week, NVIDIA purchased, air quotes, I'll explain that in a second, a company called Grok, which is not Elon's Grok, which is a GROQ, which makes chips that are really super fast, inference level chips. Like, inference means when it's spitting out the words at you, right? When it's answering you. It's more nuanced than that, but that's the extremely dumbed down version of it. And they purchased them. I say air quotes because they did the thing the tech companies are doing now. They licensed it in a non-exclusive licensing deal and basically gutted the company and took all the people and the founder over to work for NVIDIA. So like the GROQ Grok company exists still, and that's the way they're getting around regulatory approval now, is to just do this in the AI space, is just to buy the people and not buy the company. And so this is kind of like what we think is a response to that. The industry thinks is a response to that. So Cerebras is also a company who makes super, super fast inference chips. And so OpenAI did not buy them, but OpenAI signed a multi-year agreement to purchase a bunch of their computing power over 3 years to hopefully like radically speed up the responses of ChatGPT and to offload some of the data capacity there. So that's what that is. TSMC record profits. TSMC posted 35% jump on Q4 profit to record levels, predicted robust growth, and flagged more U.S. manufacturing capacity. This is the Taiwan semiconductor manufacturing company that's in Taiwan, but is building some plants in Arizona and basically provides almost all the chips that a lot of the really smart systems in AI or, I don't know, a bunch of other things, right, use all over the world. So pretty big company, continuing to grow, 34% year over year, 35% year over year in Q4 profit is a pretty crazy jump. But they keep building stuff. Google Personal Intelligence. This is super interesting to me. Have you seen this yet, Scott? We talked about the AI inbox last week.
We did. We talked about that last week, yeah.
But I don't think we've talked about personal intelligence. So Sundar Pichai announced personal intelligence in the Gemini app, allowing users to securely connect their Google apps for a personalized AI experience. It's going to take us to X, which is not going to be the recent tweet here for Sundar Pichai. But let's see if we can find, I wonder if we can find a YouTube video on this. Go to YouTube. See if you can find that over there, Jessica. Look up Gemini or Google Personal Intelligence on YouTube. Go to YouTube directly. It's easier to search and see if you can find that. And we'll play a video on that. And then we'll come back to that because I want to touch on that some more. Google Personal Intelligence. January 17th, XAI $20 billion Series E. Elon Musk's XAI raised another $20 billion in Series E funding at a $250 billion valuation. Funding will expand their supercomputers and train new Grok versions. So you can see like the amount of money that just continues to be thrown around in AI. Is not going down anywhere soon. Apple and Google had a deal for Gemini. So Apple has finally basically said what everyone else knows, is that they suck at AI and have no plan. And so they're just going to use Google's models as a fallback for Siri now. So this is, I guess, coming up sometime this year when they revamp the new Siri. The voice assistant on Apple iPhones will be powered by Gemini voice in some form or capacity. So That's Apple's current AI strategy, is to admit defeat, despite their billions of dollars. Stanford Yale copyright research published. Researchers found LLMs can reproduce copyrighted books. Claude 3.7 Sonnet reproduced 95.8% of Harry Potter. GPT 4.1, Gemini 2.5 Pro, Grok 3 were also tested. That's interesting. Let's click on that and learn a little bit more about that. New research shows they face a big copyright risk when investing in any company or industry. There's so many pop-ups. Support other potential risks. Example is cloud providers. Copyright is at the heart. They've been fighting lawsuits about copyright. Research shows reproduction. New research from a bunch of people at Stanford and Yale delved into the problem when the New York Times sued OpenAI and Microsoft. But basically what we're talking about, right? Full production models that can reproduce the whole books, all that kind of stuff. Okay, I thought there might be more in that article, but there's not. So, how long is it? It's too long. We need to find something short. See if maybe Gemini personal intelligence. See if you can find that. If not, then that's all right. We'll talk about it later anyway. Anthropic India expansion. Anthropic named former Microsoft India MD. I don't know what MD is as a title. I feel like I might. It's not medical doctor for sure. As India MD, opening regional HQ in India. So India is Anthropic's second largest user base globally. We already talked about Metacompute, Airbus. Humanoid deal, Airbus and UB Tech humanoid deal. Airbus purchased UB Tech's Walker S2 humanoid robots for aircraft manufacturing. UB Tech aims for 10,000 unit production capacity in 2026. Remind me what year we are again, Scott. Is this the future? Is 2026 the future?
This
or
is
is it
the
when
future.
Brian said?
Glad you could come.
I feel like that must be so far away. We shouldn't pay attention to it, right? I can't read this. I do have a subscription to Blue Book, but I'm not signed in on here. You have a video you found? All right, we'll watch that in a second. Talk about Gemini intelligence. So, all right, so that's interesting. So that's UB Tech is a company that they're going to produce 10,000 of their humanoid robots in 2026. And Airbus is purchasing them for aircraft manufacturing. So I think if they can make aircrafts, they must be pretty close to being able to work in the house, right? You would think.
Yeah.
IBM AI study. IBM released a study showing AI is poised to drive smarter business growth through 2030. I feel like that's kind of a no-brainer. Thanks, IBM, though. WEF, World Economic Forum AI report. World Economic Forum released a report on successful AI stories delivering real-world impact. That might be interesting to see. Geneva, Switzerland. We should go crash Davos one year, Scott. You think they let us in?
I don't see why not.
World Economic Forum has released a new report revealing successful AI stories that are already delivering measurable performance gains and how pioneering organizations are moving beyond experimentation to achieve impact at scale. You can share this, Jessica, if you want. As investment accelerates and expectations rise. Proof over promise. Okay, are we going to get like some statistics? Cohorts. Advanced Micro Devices, AMD, and Synopsys USA integrated reinforcement learning and agentic AI into chip design workflows, doubling designer productivity and shortening sign-off times at scale. EXL services in the United States automated up to 80% of legacy to cloud code migration with AI agents, cutting project timelines by up to 2 years and reducing costs 20 to 40%. KPMG and SAP in the Netherlands and Germany scaled an AI co-pilot trained on 200,000 SAP documents to speed configuration, cut rework in half, and accelerate enterprise migrations by 18%. Horizon Power and Terra Quanta in China build a weather forecasting AI that improves energy market prediction efficiency 50,000 times, reducing volatility and boosting trading performance. Schneider Electric in France delivered room-level energy optimization via on-device AI, achieving 5 to 15% in energy savings within 2 weeks while maintaining comfort. That's interesting. It sounds like a small number, 5 to 15%, but that's probably a pretty significant number off your electric bill,
Yeah.
would be my guess. Siemens in Switzerland brought closed-looped AI autonomy to heating, ventilation, and air conditioning operations, improving comfort by 25% and reducing energy use by over 6% with a scalable infrastructure-agnostic engine. This is just, as we go through this, and the reason we're going through this is I want everybody on this show to understand this is much more than ChatGPT. This is every industry that this is going to touch. National Institute of Clean and Low Carbon Energy in China combined a domain-specialized LLM with time series forecasting to improve energy market prediction accuracy and reduce energy usage by 95%. I'm not going to read all those names. Some bunch of people from China and research institutes deployed AI monitoring and control for renewable energy infrastructure and robotic intervention safety, achieving 90% increase in accuracy in defect detection. The State Grid Corporation of China, are we seeing a recurring theme here, by the way, of people that are innovating? China. It is the way it is, guys. We got to catch up. State Grid Corporation of China scaled real-time AI orchestration for megacity power systems, achieving sub-minute control across 15,000 users to enhance energy resilience. That sounds like I don't fully understand the magnitude of that sentence. It feels really important. What do you think, Scott?
These are the percentages that
I want to understand this.
are just kind of hard to get your head around, really.
Hey, I read some news from the State Grid Corporation of China that said they scaled real-time AI orchestration for megacity power systems, achieving sub-minute control across 15,000 users to enhance energy resilience. And I feel like if you could just tell me what that all means, like I'm a 12th grader, it would be great. We'll see what that says in a second. CATL and AIMS in China cut quality variation by 50%, halved operator workload, and boosted production speed with a hybrid AI system built for real-time optimization in data-scarce industrial environments. CATL in China automated battery cell design with physics ML integration, machine learning, generating optimal designs in minutes and cutting prototype cycles by nearly 50%. Tsinghua, I think I'm pronouncing it right, University and Electroloader in China used physics-grade AI simulation to shrink battery cell R&D cycles from years to weeks, cutting waste by 40% and speeding concept to prototype by a factor of 3.6. That sounds pretty impressive, yeah?
Yeah, battery technology is where it's at. And that's, yeah.
Global health and healthcare. Ant Group in China deployed a nationwide multimodal AI health platform, delivering 90% plus diagnostic accuracy and 80% faster clinician research in 5,000 institutions. Landing Med in China scaled AI cytology, is that right? Cytology? Screening in 91% of remote areas in Chinese provinces, enabling 13 million plus early cancer screenings through cloud edge medical imaging. Social Medical Corporation in Gangshukai, maybe, and Fujitsu, applied AI agents to hospital management, saving 400 plus staff hours and generating $1.4 million in revenue uplift. The Ministry of Health in Saudi Arabia and Amplif AI piloted AI thermal imaging that cuts clinician time by 90% and treatment costs by up to 80% for early diabetic foot detection. Sanofi and OAO in France build an AI-first enterprise model generating 1,300 plus use cases, accelerating development cycles and driving measurable commercial uplift. Hyundai and DeepX in the Republic of Korea brought ultra-efficient AI to autonomous robots, achieving 240% GPU-level performance at 1/8 of the power and enabling low-cost real-time robotics at scale. Industrial and Commercial Bank of China deployed a 100 billion parameter financial model for 400,000 employees, generating RMB, which is, what's that? Is it the renminbi currency? I can't remember. It's a currency. 500 million in profit gains and scaling up to millions of automated daily decisions. PepsiCo deployed 3D vision on edge machines for smart factory operations, reducing waste by 0.15% and increasing savings by over $100,000 annually. And that's just one thing you heard Pepsi do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Walmart and Dmall in China unified retail operations with real-time AI workflows that optimize pricing, reduce shrink, and lower energy use in store networks. Chemical and Scientific Discovery, Deep Principle in China used multi-agent AI to automate over half of materials simulations, cutting experimental costs and accelerating discovery cycles. Phagos in France achieved 95% accuracy in AI-designed phage therapies, speeding discovery cycles 10 times and producing a scalable alternative to antibiotics. Like, shit. It's still not even that good yet. The AI. What is, I mean, it is good, right? But like, what? Anyway. UCSF Institute for Neurodegenerative Diseases and Sandbox AQ used physics native AI and quantum chemistry to accelerate Parkinson's drug discovery 36x, achieving 30 times higher hit rates to early stage screening. Like, this is going to change everything. And I can't fathom the 50% of people who still think answers are coming from databases, but it's probably 75 to 85% of people who use ChatGPT who think it's just a chatbot. That's all AI is, right? This is going to change everything, and you're seeing it right here. I don't know. We might as well keep going, right? This is interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hitachi Rail in Japan unified rail operations with an AI analytics platform that cuts delays, reduces depot energy use, and lowers maintenance costs through condition-based optimization. Fujitsu in Japan rolled out AI agents across the supply chain to cut inventory costs by $15 million, reduce stock by $20 million, and half operational headcount through real-time autonomous forecasting. Lenovo in China orchestrated global supply chains through a unified AI agent that improves logistics accuracy by 30% and flags disruptions up to 2 weeks earlier. Cambridge Industries enabled AI-driven road and construction site safety through edge-governed LLMs, cutting emergency repair costs by nearly 50% while creating jobs for local communities. Advanced Manufacturing, Foxconn and Boston Consulting Group in Taiwan, China, and the USA scaled an AI agent ecosystem that automates 80% of decision workflows in global operations, unlocking an estimated $800 million in value. Wow. Siemens and Ethon AI in Germany and Switzerland standardized AI-enabled visual inspection in factories, saving 30,000 to 100,000 euros per station and scaling autonomous quality control with clear ROI. Black Lake Technologies in China scaled an AI-orchestrated manufacturing marketplace that lifted factory utilization to 83%, cut energy per unit by 18%, and accelerated product cycles from up to a year to as little as 1 month. Tech Mahindra scaled multilingual LLMs serving 3.8 million monthly queries with 92% accuracy, enabling inclusive digital services across the global south. And those are just the ones that were highlighted in a World Economic Report. I have to imagine there were probably hundreds or maybe even thousands of those that didn't make the cut, that were just not, right?
Yeah.
Going back to the power system that we ask. So this is I know we covered a lot since then. This is the real-time AI orchestration for mega city power systems achieving sub-minute control across 15,000 users. What's actually happening here? Imagine a city's power grid like a massive, incredibly complex circulatory system. Electricity has to flow from power plants to millions of homes, businesses, and factories. And here's the tricky part. Supply and demand have to be balanced constantly in real time. If there's too much power, things can overload. Too little, and you get blackouts. What China's state grid is doing is using AI to coordinate or orchestrate all the moving pieces of this system across a mega city. Think generators, solar panels, batteries, industrial facilities, and substations. The 15,000 users likely refers to large-scale endpoints like factories, buildings, or distributed energy resources, not individual households. Sub-minute control matters because traditionally grid adjustments might take several minutes or require human intervention. Getting that down to under a minute means the system can react almost instantly to problems, like a sudden spike in demand when everyone turns on their AC or a cloud passing over a solar farm. This kind of speed and coordination makes the grid more resilient, better able to handle disruptions, integrate renewable energy, which fluctuates a lot, and avoid cascading failures that cause blackouts. It's basically like giving the power grid extremely fast reflexes instead of slow manual reactions. Sounds good, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just, I don't know. What else do we got? Yeah, we will in a second. I'm going to talk about a few things before we're to wrap up the show. But humans and $480 million seed round AI startup founded by Anthropic, XAI, and Google alums raised $480 million. Seed round at $4.48 billion valuation. Okay. ServiceNow OpenAI partnership, 3-year deal to integrate OpenAI's GPT 5.2 and AI agents into ServiceNow's enterprise platform. Includes speech-to-speech, and native voice technology. AI workforce anxiety at Davos. Deutsche Bank, anxiety about AI will go from a low hum to a loud roar this year. Employees' concerns about AI job loss rose from 28% in 2024 to 40% in 2026. I don't know who's been predicting this. Talk to somebody. Who was it? I can't remember their name, Scott, who was predicting this might happen. AI layoffs are dominating conversations at the World Economic Forum in Davos this year, which is happening right now. As you need to get that? Is it important?
No.
Okay.
No, I just forgot to turn down my phone.
Okay.
Sorry.
Most countries and most businesses are not prepared for it. So let's see. After a year marked by AI-driven layoffs, I don't know that that's actually true. I don't think AI has quite hit us yet, but maybe. Influential leaders and top executives are now warning that we can expect to see a huge ramp up in anxiety around the technology in 2026. Kristalina Georgieva, managing director at the International Monetary Fund, said Tuesday that AI is a major faucet for economic growth in a conversation with CNBC's Karen So and Steve Sedgwick in the World Economic Forum's flagship conference in Davos, Switzerland. We see potential of up to 0.8% boost to growth over the next years. I think it's going to be higher than that. We talked about GDP doubling.
Right.
I think it's going to be much higher than that. But it is hitting the labor market like a tsunami, and most countries and most businesses are not yet prepared for it. What do countries and companies, have to do? They need to think about the new skills that are already necessary, not will be necessary or already necessary, and how they're going to have to have these new skills. AI was seen as a significant contributing factor to nearly 55,000 layoffs in the U.S. in 2025, which is nothing. That's a drop in the bucket. According to December data from consulting firm Challenger, Gray, and Christmas, major firms were citing AI as part of the reason for laying off workers. Amazon, Salesforce, we've already heard all that stuff. Weaker sentiment. Mercer's research shows that 62% of employees feel leaders underestimate AI's emotional and psychological impact. Employee concerns about job loss due to AI have skyrocketed from 28% to 40%, according to preliminary findings from consultancy firm Mercer's Global Talent Trends 2026 report, which surveyed 12,000 people worldwide. Anxiety about AI will go from a low hum to a loud roar, Deutsche Bank analysts wrote in a note on Tuesday. This will be reflected in lawsuits over everything from copyright to privacy, data center location, and protection of young people from chatbots encouraging self-harm or worse. The note cited a Stanford study in November, which referenced a 16% relative decline in employment for graduates in roles exposed to AI, as opposed to jobs for experienced employees remaining stable since the launch of ChatGPT in November of 2022. Companies attributing much of the blame for job cuts to AI should be taken with a grain of salt, as AI redundancy washing will be a significant feature of 2026. Some studies show the impact of AI in the labor market has so far been muted. Just what I was saying. AI hasn't yet caused widespread job losses. Yale University's Budget Lab said in a report in October. The lab analyzed U.S. labor market data from 2022 to 2025 and found that the share of workers in different jobs hadn't shifted massively since ChatGPT's debut, et cetera, et cetera. 2026 is the year of great adaptation, where individuals and team leaders need to start thinking about how to integrate AI and lock in productivity gains. Additionally, found that an overwhelming 97% of investors said funding decisions would be negatively impacted by firms that fail to systemically upskill workers on AI and bring them forward into the future. That's a big fucking number.
Mm-hmm.
And I've said this on the show before, like if you, and I'll say this, I said this I was talking to my girlfriend about this, I think last night. If you have not started learning what AI can do for your company yet, like we've spent the last 3 years doing this at Insider Perks. Like, and we're already way far ahead. But I have companies coming to me now who are trying to automate for the first time in 2026 pieces and processes that we know how to do for them, but inherently will, because of the back and forth of like, I have this software and I don't know how to use it, or I do know how to use it, but I don't know what questions you're asking me, Brian, about API access or webhook access or whatever else. So let me figure out how to get you in touch with the support so you can email them to talk about the language to get to the person who knows how to turn the feature on, so we can even begin how to, like that thing. It takes like 3 to 4 weeks with back and forth to begin automating like one process that will save hours of time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you lost 3 years, guys.
Right.
You lost 3 years.
That's the
Sitting on your fucking hands waiting.
Mm-hmm.
That's my point to all these people, right? So it's just moving too fast, and it's better late than never for everybody, right? But you waited too long. 3/4 of investors said they're more likely to invest in companies that provide AI education to employees. I talked to a guy the other day who will remain nameless, who said he was in meetings with investors to pitch a product. And this is a repeated thing. He went to 5 different investment groups. And I don't know if he said all of them, but a majority of them, like their only question was like, don't tell me what you're going to do as the founder. Tell me what AI is going to do for your company. And his company had nothing to do with AI.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like we're all like, I'm not, but like a lot of us are sick and tired of hearing about AI because it's everywhere. It's permeating every corner of all society. It's just getting started. Like it's just getting started. And if you would just sit back and study and learn and adapt how your business can take advantage of this stuff, you'll be able to save so much money, save so much time, provide better guest experience, earn more revenue. Like, yes, it's going to cost jobs. Yes, we don't want it to cost jobs, but blaming AI for that is the wrong piece. And you tell me if you agree with this, Scott. AI and robotics is not your problem. If you're worried about AI and robotics taking your job and you think you should blame AI or robotics, you're blaming the wrong person. The reason AI and robotics is going to take your job is not because of AI and robotics, is because fucking capitalism is greedy as fuck. That's why AI is going to take your job. Am I wrong, Scott?
No, that's the truth. It's
so like pointing your weapon of hate at AI for taking your job is the wrong place to point it. You need to point it at government regulation and capitalism, because the only reason these companies are going to race to adopt AI is because they all want more profit and more margins to please their shareholders or to whatever, right? It's capitalism. AI is not the problem. Just like going from horse and buggy to cars, like it wasn't Henry Ford's fault. It was people got goods faster to one place over the other. Economic activity, capitalism, this is what it's all about, right? So if you want to live in a capitalistic society, this is where you're going. Like, hang on. That's all I got to say. Like, I'm not saying I'm cheering or root for it or I want this to happen, but it is going to happen. I didn't even read this guy's name. I lost my train of thought, but People were starting running for the hills. Investors saying, how are you combining your workforces with AI? How are you combining your workforces with AI? How are you bringing your workforces along? Upskilling is critical to the sustaining the economic performance of the organization. It is. Like, you're going to see so many companies who just die because they have either they didn't pay attention to this, or now they want to wake up and pay attention to this. So imagine I'm Brian, right? And I woke up this morning and I'm like, fuck, you know what? It's 2026. It's about time that I started paying attention to AI. Okay. Then my competitor, like, make up a company, right? My competitor has been learning AI for the last 3 years and started to integrate it into their processes and has known everything about it and understands how it works. I'm starting from zero, which means there's only one of two paths that I can take as a business owner. I can either make endless amounts of time to learn AI on my own to figure out how to deploy it in my organization, or I can go try to hire an AI consultant, of which, like, there's not a lot of us out there who know how to do this, who aren't making $100 million checks or $10 million checks or $1 million annual salaries from Meta or Google or right. And those of us that are out there are going to be hired by the big companies like PepsiCo and stuff like that. So, like, again, I just keep going back to these 3 years that so many people have wasted telling me that AI is not a thing or AI is not a fad or whatever it is. The time is not. Where do you think you're going to pull the time? From your daily schedule, whatever else. I had a CEO email me the other day. My first availability is like February 28th. That's fine. Like, right? That makes sense. Like, given who the CEO is, I know, and I'll get on the calendar or whatever else. But, like, if that's your availability already, where do you think you're going to carve out time to learn AI for your organization? Not that that's the CEO's responsibility, right? To do that. Just making up a scenario. There's just, this time doesn't exist, and that's why you should have been doing it all along. Like, I've been doing this obsessively for 3 years to the tune of 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, except when I've taken a couple of vacations, right? And I'm not saying that I'm the right model at all. No one should do what I did, right? But, like, man, you got to pay attention to this. It's too fast. I can't even keep up with it at that clip. What else we got? AI, we talked about that. NVIDIA N1X ARM chips, new gaming laptops, data center power costs. CNN reports data centers projected to consume 6.7 to 12% of U.S. electricity by 2028. That's a significant number.
It's huge. It's gigantic.
12% of U.S. electricity up to by 2028, up from 4.4% in 2023. The electricity costs near data centers are up 267% versus 5 years ago. Whew. I hope you all are locked into a contract. I am, but mine expires next year. Mitsubishi multi-agent AI. Mitsubishi Electric developed multi-agent AI for expert-level decision-making via adversarial debate. SpaceX Starship Flight 12. SpaceX is preparing for Flight 12 in Q1 of 2026. Humanoid robot prototypes from XPeng ET1. They rolled out their first humanoid robot prototype built to automotive-grade standards, aiming for mass production by the end of 2026. Remind me what year we're in, Scott? Is it 2026? Are we in 2026?
Apparently not.
Because this is obviously happening in the future. We're nowhere near what Brian said was going to happen, right? Boston Dynamics and Google DeepMind partnership. Partnership announced at CES 2026 to integrate Gemini robotics AI models into Atlas humanoid robots. All 2026 Atlas units committed to Hyundai factories and Google DeepMind. I'm not even going to open that article, but they also said they were going to produce like 10 to 20,000 in the one factory that they built sometime in 2026, if all goes well. Penn State quantum security warning. IBM quantum computing study. IBM study finds quantum computing expected to reshape industry by the end of the decade. That's the end of the decade. Like, that's like 4 years away. Finds quantum computing is expected to reshape the industry. How? I want to know how. IBM expects quantum computing. Warning. 59% of executives. Doesn't even say, does it? It's just a bunch of numbers. IBM reports that Moderna, the people who did the COVID vaccine, right? Obviously, they've done a lot more than that. Has used quantum systems involving up to 80 qubits to model mRNA secondary structures, surpassing prior limits in the field. The company also applied its approach to larger optimization problems using as many as 156 qubits and 950 non-local gates, with results matching those of commercial classical solvers. I don't know what that means, but it sounds important. If they put it in a press release, it must be, right? AI strategy not enough. IBM calls particular attention to the report in the report to organizations that view AI investment as sufficient preparation for the next decade. While AI dominates executive agendas, with 79% of respondents saying it will significantly contribute to revenue by 2030, IBM argues that AI's growth will increase demand for new forms of computation rather than reduce it. As AI models become larger and more specialized, they generate optimization of problems that classical systems struggle to solve efficiently. Quantum computing offers a way to handle those challenges without relying solely on brute force scaling. By 2030, insight will be everywhere. Interfaces will be radically different, and AI will act as the business intelligence system, decision engine, and a participant in operations. Its immediate role will be accelerator in AI-driven workflows. So again, yeah, let's plan for inevitability, not immediacy. But it's like, we're not just talking about AI. We're talking about robots. We're talking about quantum computing. We're talking about potentially nuclear fusion energy. We're talking like the amount of shit that is about to change in your guys' world in the next 10 years is a century to 10 years, like that. And I've said this, I think, on the show before, but imagine everything that happened between 1925 and 2025. And imagine all of that happening in 10 years. Is anybody ready for that? And that's a conservative estimate, probably, of what is coming down toward all of you in the next 10 years. I don't know.
It's coming fast. It's coming fast.
Yeah. Data center electricity rates, Wikipedia AI deals. Wikipedia signed AI deals with Microsoft, Meta, and Perplexity. This is Marcus' 25th birthday. So we wanted time to watch the personal intelligence video because we got to wrap up the show. But like this Gemini personal intelligence thing is another, and I'm trying to remember my thoughts on this when it first came out. I probably should just wait and talk about this next week, but like maybe we will anyway if I can find some more data on it. But it's the ability for you to like go to your Gemini app and connect your Gmail and connect your Google Calendar and connect your YouTube and connect everything else, right? And it's actually really fascinating. I haven't tested it out yet because it only works with personal Gmail accounts. It doesn't work with Google Workspace. And all my stuff is on like Brian at insiderperks.com, which is a Google Workspace account, which is not, at Gmail account, right? So you can only use personal accounts right now. But some of the examples they've shown already with people doing this stuff, if you connect your Google Photos to Gemini, it can now look through and understand your whole library of photos. Meaning that when you go to Google and say, I need to buy new tires, it will actually look through your photo library for photos of your car and understand what kind of car you have and what tires you need for that specific car, and even what model you already have because you took pictures at some point of your tires. And then it will just show you the tires you need to buy in Google search. That's one example of trillions, right? But it can, so like this is what I'm talking about saving. When I say AI search is going to be personalized to the person, and all of you marketers and executives who think that you're going to call Brian, the marketing guy, and be like, tell me how many times I'm showing up for AI search, or I want to pay Ahrefs, the company, $600 a month for their brand radar to figure out how many times I'm being answers to questions. It's all a lie because it's all going to be personalized. People are going to start to ask, like, I need new tires. Help me find new tires for my car, or just help me find tires. So do you see how fast this is changing, Scott? How long we've
Mhm.
had the show? But like in the beginning of the show, I would often say, and for years I've said, that like you're going to see the dumbing down of queries that we had in Google, RV park near Austin, Texas, now expand into I can now talk in full form sentences because AI can understand me. Find me an RV park near Austin, Texas that's off the highway that's priced less than $70 a night. To then, so we went from short to long to now like even fucking shorter because all you have to do now is find me a place to camp and it already knows where the fuck you want to go, where you've been, what you've emailed about, where you've taken pictures about, if your kid had a smile on their face when they were at this place or a frown on their face when they were at that place. Like it's fucking nuts how fast this is changing. I can't like, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like it's the same. We talked to people about like we're moving to a new web hosting company, right? To a new enterprise box for all of our clients to even get super fast speed. And I was talking to the head of growth at that company the other day on a call, and I said to him, I was like, we originally thought the same thing. We've talked about this on the show, right? We originally thought that AI was going to stop traffic to your website. Everybody would ask questions on ChatGPT. Nobody would go shop around by clicking links on Google link search anymore, which means that you would have less traffic to your website, but you would have higher conversion percentage because the people who got to your website to book would actually then be more likely to convert because they've already got their questions answered in ChatGPT. And so I was telling people that for a long time. And then the flip is like, well, now if the agents can browse your website for you, why would the agent at 2,000 times the speed of a human not browse 400 websites instead of the 3 the human would choose, giving you more traffic, right? And then your conversion rate lowers and you're like, what the fuck is happening? And then you get mad at your marketing company because you don't understand, right? It's the same thing with phone calls. This is an especially important part, and I'll finish this and then we'll wrap up the show. This is another important part, right? Is we've been counseling our website clients that you need to expand your websites from 5 pages to 20, 30, 40, 50 pages in some cases, not to stuff and put a bunch of garbage on your website, but to explain all the things that aren't on your website, right? Like the common example I give is a playground. Instead of having, and I've talked about this, but instead of having an amenities page on your website that lists your 20 bullet pointed amenities, one of which is a playground, you have a playground page that has pictures of the playground and descriptions and says the slide is not metal so your kid won't burn their butt when it's 90 degrees outside, and it's mulch so if they fall off the teeter-totter then they won't hurt themselves underneath, and there's 2 swings, and here's some Gator Rocky toys or whatever that they can have fun on, and here's some fun activities that we've seen other kids do at the property, right? Where's the AI going to choose? But that information is missing from so many campground websites because quite frankly, people don't want to invest in their campground websites. They don't want to spend money. So there's no, it costs money to hire a web developer to build out pages because, they actually have to work for their time. It doesn't take 10 seconds to build out a website page. So they don't want to pay this. So now you're going into a future where how does AI get that information? And the answer is it can't on your website. So when you ask, find me an RV park near Austin, Texas, it's under $70 a night, and your rates are hidden behind a booking engine, which we talked about, I think, before too, the AI doesn't know you're priced under $70 a night. When it asks if your playground has mulch, it doesn't know. It doesn't know the answers to a lot of questions because your website hasn't been well thought out and designed, which means what's the only other recourse for an AI to get this information? If it really wants to, either it's going to skip you or it's going to call your park. And so when the AI, as they already can in Google now, can call your park and can call 200 parks simultaneously and get the answer, your phone call volume might go through the roof. So who do you have that's going to answer 200 times the amount of phone calls you get today that are all silly FAQ questions because you didn't do your website right? Are you about to 4x the staff that sits in your office, 10x them, or are you going to have an AI agent that answers your phone calls? Or are you just going to build a better website, right? So we're told people phone calls are going to go down. Now we're telling people phone calls are going to go up. So it's going to keep changing so rapidly, and we've got to be able to keep up with this stuff as a business, as an industry. And if we don't, your competitor's going to win because there will be somebody who keeps up with it, right?
Yep.
From a data standpoint, they're going to hire Scott to keep up with it. From a marketing AI standpoint, they're going to hire me to keep up with it. And there's lots of other really smart people too. Maybe not in data. There's nobody else smart like Scott, but there's probably
all you need is right here on this show, right? What you're seeing. This is it.
So, man, that was a lot of fucking talking that I just did over the last hour. I'm surprised I don't have a sore throat or something like that. But like, I just think like it's a quick run through everything. But I think it's so these last 2 weeks we've run through this news, but I think this maybe helps people clearly understand the magnitude of this a little bit more. And this is just the shit that happened in the last 6 days, guys. And only the stuff that we were able to find in like 10 minutes in a search, which means there's probably 100 more times of this stuff, right? No one has ever seen the speed at which this is moving on an exponential scale. You have got to pay attention to this. You have to. Or you're going to be left behind. That's all I got. Final thoughts, Scott?
I think the data center issue is going to be a big one as we move forward. I would advise people to, the issue with energy and electricity prices. If your park is located near one of these, you should be prepared to budget for the increased cost. But we are seeing, I know there's been a lot of backlash to the data centers, but looks like Colorado is ready to pass some stuff about, or cut some deals on tax breaks and stuff for data centers so that there probably will be hubs of data centers. It looks like in places like, if this goes through, like Colorado would be one. So, but it's something to keep an eye on. It's as Brian just mentioned, it's a fast moving environment we're in right now. Pay attention, listen, because things that may not seem to affect you directly could in the long run. So, just do your due diligence, and as Brian always says, get out there and start using AI, start using it, figure out how to do this stuff, because it's what you need to be able to do.
Cool. Well, thank you guys for joining us on another episode of Outwired. If you guys have not seen it already, Scott Barr and myself released MC Hospitality highlights today, talking about the booking window and increased guest expectations. It's a really good report. You can download it on moderncampground.com under MC Hospitality highlights. It's under the resources tab, or you can go to LinkedIn on my profile and maybe Scott's when he gets to posting the LinkedIn thing. Did you post it yet, Scott?
No, I've been on this for 2 hours.
Like, go on Scott's LinkedIn profile and just hit refresh, and eventually
it'll show up. It'll just show up.
If you have, like, if you don't want to move as fast as AI does, and go to my profile, you can go and wait for that on Scott. But really good research reports. We're going to start doing those every month going on here on out. We'll also start figuring out how to do some reports from Outwired. We got some stuff we got to talk about and what we're going to do with that strategy, but just a little bit more about AI analysis, stuff like that. We'll try to put out that Gen X report. Jessica's going to remind me about that. And then, we'll see what other good things are coming from Insider Perks and stuff in the future. But I'm excited about 2026. I know Kieran's got a lot of awesome things that you guys are going to do in 2026 too. And other than that, we will see you next week for another episode of Outwired. There you go.
Bye.
Peace.